Cigar Box Guitar Builder. My name's Adam Harrison, and I'll be joined today by Darren McDonald, and we are going to be talking about starting out on your cigar box guitar journey. We'll also look at continuing on in your journey as well. So it's not just an episode today for beginners, but it's certainly going to be around that kind of area. Again, big thanks to Ben Baker and the team at CBGs for sponsoring our little show. We're very thankful to them. It's been over a year now that they've been supporting us, and it is greatly appreciated, gentlemen and ladies in the team. So if you need anything from CBGs, please be sure to use our affiliate link down in the episode description. And you can get up to 10% off your first 3 orders with CBGs. We also get a little kickback from the team there as well, and it really does help to support what we are doing with operational costs, etc. Anyway, with no further ado, we'll give Dazza a buzz and see what that fella's up to. While Darren says, hang on. Hang on. He's still getting ready. He's putting his fancy headphones on.
Yeah.
I'm having a sip of my coffee.
Somebody has to.
That's it.
Sip of Pepsi Max.
Well, there you go. You're all set and ready for the day. So it is actually, it's a slightly different day for us to be recording. It's things kind of fell through a little bit on Sunday. Not with the other guys, but with me. I had ended up having to take people around the place and do stuff, doing dad stuff, which is, takes priority, of course, and understandably. So Darren and I kind of we had a little chat yesterday, and I thought, let's do a podcast today. And apologies to Jesse and to Joe for, but both of those guys are working guys. It is a week through the week. I'm on school holidays at the moment, and Darren, you're in between gardening jobs at the moment, so you've just got a lull.
Either that or just bludging.
Or bludging, yeah. The good old Aussie pastime.
Yeah.
So, Daz, what's been going on, man? We'll just do a quick little catch up before we get started on our kind of our topic of today, which is beginning and beginning to build cigar box guitars. So we'll talk about that in a second. What's been going on with you?
Me, I am being flat out babysitting grandchildren. Like. The other day when we had the heat wave, I was painting and felt like 50-degree heat.
Yeah.
And like the paint was drying as I was painting it on the wall.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, there's on the side of the tin. There's a little caveat there that they write. They say, don't use this paint if it's over 32 degrees.
Yeah,
Celsius.
I never read that.
Yeah. But yeah, it doesn't take into account time constraints and things like that, of course, when you need to do it. But you've been very busy, not necessarily building cigar box guitars. What was something you built for your grandson?
Oh, you mean the kitchen?
The kitchen, man. Seriously, that thing is unbelievable.
That was before Christmas.
Oh, it was, yeah. Well, of course, it was a Christmas gift, but you've put a lot of time and effort into it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something here. This is a pretty impressive piece of kit. It must weigh over 40 kilograms, easy. Easy.
Probably.
It's this massive little kitchenette that has a working sink. And like everything's been hand done. Like the oven that you put in has got little wooden knobs on it, and but it's massive. It's literally, you could take that and you could put it into a little person's home. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it is solid enough to be actually a proper piece of furniture. And, no disrespect to any little people out there, but what I'm saying is, like, it is a proper professional piece of kit.
I thought you were going to say turn it into a guitar, but
No,
I don't think it would work.
Well, maybe that'll be the next. Maybe that'll be the next challenge in the group build challenge. Make a musical instrument out of your kitchen appliance or something like that. So who knows? Well, tell you what, Justin Stanchfield's picked a really interesting one for this round because he won the Diddley Bow challenge, and he's picked building a musical instrument. Based upon an ancient instrument, like something that came like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, like going all the way back. So I've been having a ball jumping on the internet and looking up old African instruments and Egyptian instruments and Greek instruments, and so I'm going back, man. I might pull from my Greek heritage because my dad's Greek Cypriot. So I might pull from that heritage and maybe look at some Greek, ancient Greek instruments or something like that, and then see what I can do. I did feel a bit slack about not contributing to the Diddley Bow challenge, I have to admit, because things got a little bit away from me.
I didn't contribute either.
Yeah, I had quite a few orders on over the holidays, and things did just get away from me. The funny thing is, I've literally got the box put aside, I've got the neck set aside for what I was going to do, but by the time it got to the end of it, I didn't want to just knock it up. I thought, no, if I was going to do it, I really wanted to do it properly. So unfortunately, I do apologise for not actually getting something in. But I tell you what, we had a really great contributors. I think we had 17 off the top of my head. It was either 15 or 17 people building. Yeah, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's just, sorry, dead air. I'm having a cup of coffee. I'm going to sip of my coffee. I tell you, yeah, absolutely wonderful. So what's been happening in my world? Crikey, school holidays.
Nothing.
Well, no, not necessarily. It's been really flat out. I've been flat out doing nothing, man. I bought a lazy spa. We bought a lazy spa a few years ago, and I tell you what, I've been in it every day since. It's ridiculous. It's like, it's so good. I'm terrified about what the electricity bill's going to be, but on those, it's nice, man. It's a little bit of luxury at home, and instead of spending a few $1,000s on going to a resort or something like that, I think we're just going to spend a few $1,000s on the electricity bill and stay home. I tell you what, there's a little bit of upkeep on it and stuff like that, but it's a cracker of a piece of kit. I'm telling you, it's good fun. We have had a heat wave here. We did have a very big heat wave with temperatures in the high 30s and into the mid 40s. That's Celsius for our Fahrenheit friends, which is bloody hot. Tim from Tim Oakman Oak Amplifiers. He's down near Ulladulla, down on the south coast, but he's inland a little bit. He said he sent a picture a couple of days ago of the temperature. It was 54 degrees Celsius.
Oh no!
54 degrees Celsius where he was. It was just like, it must have been utterly stifling. It's like, I can't imagine. Like, I've been in 54 degree heat. I have once, or 52. I think it got to 52. It was a festival. We did a festival at Windsor, which is in Western Sydney. And I had a tent, and they took, outside it was 47 degrees. I've spoken about this before, but outside it was 47 degrees Celsius. Inside the tent where the heat was, because there were no vents in the roof, it was 50. It was 52 degrees inside. Like, someone actually took the temperature inside there. It was 52 degrees. And And that's the real reason. That's the reason I never, ever use hot glue on any of my builds.
Yeah.
Because everything was falling off the guitars. The hot glue was melting. It was just insane. I had sound holes falling off. I had piezos not adhering. They'd come off inside the box. I had to, thank God I never seal my boxes up completely. I only ever screw them shut. So I was frantically opening boxes and using super glue to reattach piezos to the necks. And oh my God, it was insane. So, yeah.
The funny thing about that heat wave, 2 days later, it was freezing friggin' cold.
Oh, it's insane. We had the heater on, not last night, the night before. The day after the heat wave, I had the heater on in the evening, trying to warm the house up. We had the spa set at 34 degrees Celsius, which was just beautiful until you got out, and then you got, yeah, it was. I think we had 15 degrees Celsius. It was just insane. Jeez. It was crazy. It was just this fluctuation. And it's just absolutely nuts. I've got the sniffles out of it, and because your body's trying to keep up with what's going on. It's crazy. And then down in Victoria, they've got these absolutely insane bushfires that have just been horrible down there. So any of our Victorian listeners, our heart really goes out to you. As Darren and I both live in the Blue Mountains in Sydney, we know what it's like to go through pretty hard bushfire times. So. It's not a lot of fun, let me tell you. Anyway, the other thing I've been doing is putting back together my old hi-fi system from the shop, and I dug out the amplifier, which was a little Raypar amplifier, little 1970s solid state amp, and I got my record player out, my what is it, the turntable that a friend had given me, which is just a lovely piece of kit, and I didn't have any speakers, so I went to the Cancer Council up at Katoomba. They've got this great big opportunity shop, and I got a pair of speakers. I got a pair of Sony speakers, just like about that big, kind of slightly bigger than desktop size. I'll turn you around so you can see it. There you go.
Jeez.
And I got them for $6. And my son's there, and my son's eyes, he'd never been there before, his eyes just went wide, and he saw this subwoofer for $15. He's just going, "Dad, can I have a subwoofer for $15? I said, yeah, why not? So we got him a subwoofer for $15, and two of these big ass ugly kind of silver looking speakers, those big chunky looking modern things, which all of the, as far as we know, I know the speakers work fine, but that'll actually go really nicely because his grandfather passed away about a year or so ago, and had left some old stereo equipment. And so he actually ended up with this pretty freaking cool stereo receiver, with built-in amplifier, and a tape deck. And he's got, which works out really, really well because just recently we had someone locally basically giving away boxes of cassettes. They just literally just giving them away. They were going overseas. They were leaving, not coming back, and they couldn't take all their cassettes with them. So he's got like Fleetwood Mac, and he's got all this classic rock. It's just all classic. It's all dad rock stuff, But he's got all of these cassettes. So we just need to make sure. We just need to try and track down a cassette cleaner, which Metho and a cotton bud will do the same job. I mean, you remember that? You remember fixing up your tape decks and. I'm looking around.
As soon as they broke, I got a new.
Well, I've got a tape recorder. It's huge. It's about 30 or 40 centimeters wide. Like, it's a big chunky piece of kit. And the tape, it's one of the ones where the tape, you put the tape in on the top, flat, and then you push it down. But it's a full-on tape recorder, so you can record your voice and listen to. But it's not. It turns on, but the motor may have gone or the something. So I would love to get someone to have a look at that, because I'd love to hook that up to this. But then I was scanning eBay last night, and there's someone's giving away not giving away, but they've put it up for auction. A Marantz amplifier, speakers, and a CD player, like a CD. This is all separate hi-fi units. At the moment, it's just sitting there for $50. I'm like, I'm going to put a bid in. If no one's put a bid in yet, I'm going to put a bid in today, because it's only got a day left. So it's down in Hurstville, so I might have to do a drive. I might have to do a drive down, but that's like so low. It's like, Oh, so yeah, that's kind of been. That's been me. Apart from finding out and realising over Christmas that I'm down to 10 sellable cigar box guitars, not including my made-to-order stuff. So if people want a pre-made guitar, I've only got 10 to choose from. So I've got to get off my ass and get back to building some cigar box guitars for the web shop. I've also been doing up some 6-string electrics as well, which I did up my first. Did up my first ever build, which is just ace. And I got this old Samick guitar from from Cool Old Guitars in Gladesville. Got it for $100. Yeah. And probably because I said the pickups weren't working, but they were working. They were perfectly fine. They just needed to be tested. So 3 hours later, three or so hours later, I've got a beautiful, beautiful guitar. It is just gorgeous, man. The frets needed a little bit of attention and stuff, but what a guitar! It's just fantastic. So that'll go up on the website soon. So that kind of thing. But anyway, let's get on to today's topic, which is building your first, or starting out building cigar box guitars. Wow. So there's a whole range of different things that we could be looking at. Let's look at the first thing. Let's talk about where. Let's talk about where you're going to do it. Where to build it. So
in a shed.
That's great. Some people, put your hands up, everybody, if you have a shed. I can't put my hand up yet. I don't have a shed yet. Darren's got a beautiful shed. Darren's got, I don't know if you've seen on the YouTubes and all that sort of stuff, but Darren, you built that yourself. That's all hand done just by you, putting the effort
Pretty
in.
Much.
I'm in a process now where I'm doing exactly the same thing. I'm going to lose. We're doing some renovations here, so I'm going to lose my workshop underneath the house, and I've got to put a shed down the backyard, which is fun.
And copy me.
Well, it'll be a different type of construction, but I'm generally assured by most people that people who do build sheds have not necessarily copied Darren. So, as I understand it, Darren was not the first person ever to build a shed.
Well, apparently by Darren, he was.
In Darren's world, he was. By decree of Darren, I am the shed king.
Yes, that's right.
So yes, I'm really excited about it. I've been looking at, I've been watching a lot of videos, YouTube videos. I've struck upon one which was I can't remember his name now. He's got 1.2 million subscribers. He basically is an American bloke who owns a butt ton of land over in America, and he builds sheds all over them. So and he's been basically building sheds for 25 years. So I found a design that I really liked that was relatively easy. It's non-permanent, so if I needed to pull it down, or if we moved or whatever, man, there is
I've
the
been
option.
building sheds for 20.
And we've got Darren. Darren's going to help me out as well. So a lot of people have sheds, but most of us don't. Scotty Tebow. Let's bring up Scotty Tebow. Scotty Tebow, when I first started building cigar box guitars and I got on the internet, Scott was one of those people that I kind of connected with first. Scott lives in Canada. And if you're listening, g'day, mate. as Scott hasn't built cigar box guitars for quite a while, things changed in his life and things like that, and he's moved on to other things. However, I do remember conversations with Scott, and basically he would build cigar box guitars on his washing machine. That was his workbench. He had a small house. He lived in Canada, where in the regions where he was, when it was winter, you couldn't go outside and build anything. Like, it was impossible to build outside. There was no, like, going into a shed could be a life and death decision. So it's one of those things. So he would actually build, just basically use his washing machine as a workbench, that type of thing. Brianna Skinner is a very talented person who lives in Sydney, in a unit way up high, like 32nd floor, and she builds electric guitars. She builds using kit bodies or premium bodies from, like, Fender, or she might contact, she goes to the companies, gets Fender, like, gets all the kit, like, does it all. However, she also does her own painting as well. Okay. So she uses her balcony and a kind of a communal work area, or a caged work area down underneath the building. And we're talking, she's using things like not polyester. What's the paint? I've just gone blank. It's too early in the morning for this thinking stuff.
Polyurethane?
No, not polyurethane. The other one. The classic one. Oh, God. Oh, what is it called? The other paint. The other paint that it's cancer causing and all that sort of stuff if you breathe it in, all that sort of thing. But it's the kind of paint that you'll find on classic guitars, and people are still using it now. And for the life of me, I cannot think of the name. Yell it at your computer screen, good people, and tell me what it is. See if it can through the ether. No, it's not the polyurethane, but it's the other stuff. It's so and the work that she's producing is absolutely insane for where she is. So, personally, when I first started building, I've got a little tin shed sitting out the front that I'm currently looking at in my front yard at the moment. It's where I store everything. I basically had a workhorse that I had in there. This is when I very first started building electric. I built my first electric guitar, and it took a whole year. And I spent 30 minutes a day basically with hand tools, and we'll talk about tools in a second. But I basically, just on sunny days, I'd stand out the front and I would use one of those workhorses. I'd open it up, and that was it. That was my office. So the big thing is, you don't need, especially for cigar box guitars, let's be very, very, very honest about this. It's not like building an electric guitar where you're using, you need a bit more room. You might need, slightly more specialised equipment. Where cigar box guitars can be very simple if you allow them to be very simple. So use anywhere you've got. I suppose that would be the message. If you're in a unit, use your balcony, or use a communal work area down below or something. And to be honest with you, Brianna lives in, like, she doesn't live in a big unit. It's kind of like a 1-bedroom unit. It's prime position in the middle of the city, but you pay for you pay for it with your space. So, like, if she can do it, and if she can do the work that she's doing there, it's just testimony to the fact that you put your mind to something, you can do it. That's the thing. So, space could be anywhere. It could be on, a lot of people do it on their kitchen bench. I know a lot of pedal builders, basically, effects pedal builders, started out working on their kitchen bench. They're drilling enclosures, they're working with solder, if you want to do it, you got to do it. My suggestion would be, if you are in an enclosed environment, and especially if you live in areas where it does get very cold and you have to have be in an area that is enclosed to be kept warm, my suggestion would be to watch out for things like oils, paints, some glues, anything that causes a vapor or an odor. be careful of the timber that you're using if you're sanding, because some timbers can be carcinogenic. They can be not necessarily great for allergies. So talk to your partner. Let them know what you want to do. My suggestion, and just approach it with a little bit of common sense. Anything you can do outside, and maybe final gluing and things like that. It's up to you. Be sensible about it, I think, would be the big thing. Tools. Now I'm looking behind you, and yes. I'm inside, but you know what my workshop's like. It's funny, because
you still got that rusty chisel.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I've got all that stuff. Well,
that's just sad, Adam.
Look, here's the thing. The funny thing is, though, if you look around the workshop that you've got there, right? Yeah. If you look around there, and then if you look around my workshop, right? Yeah. I would probably only use about 10% of the tools that I've actually got up on display. Yeah, that's the truth. That's the truth of the matter. When you go and buy like screwdriver kits, right? For example, or chisel kits, or electric drill sets. You're probably going to find, and I apologise to our American Imperial. Not leaders, but Imperial users. If I do talk in millimeters, the realistic thing is that you can buy a lot of this stuff individually. You don't have to buy great big kits because of all of the screws. I basically use 1.5 mil. That's for usually side dot markers or for the screws for the machine heads at the back. 2 mil. I usually use 2 mil for pilot holes for self-tapping screws. 3 I will generally use, this is in millimeters, 3 I will generally use for the holes for the pickup screws. The two main pickup screws that attach to the springs that hold the electric guitar pickups. Yeah. Then you've got, and also I generally use 3 for the cable that goes from the earth cable from a bridge, for example, to. So I use that. I'll use a 4. And I'll generally use a 4 for the rivets that I use in the rear of the guitar to mount the strings to the rear of the neck, to the neck assembly. And then I'll jump from 4. From there, I will generally jump straight up to a 7.5. Now 7.5 I'll use for the, again, millimeters, people. I'll generally use that one for the potentiometer hole. So to screw the holes in for potentiometers, I'll use an 8, and the 8 I will generally use for the bushings for acoustic tuners, and then I jump from an 8 up to a 10. All right. So I'll go from that to the 10, and that's usually for output jack hole and for the larger machine heads, the enclosed machine heads, like electric guitar machine heads. So if you think about a set of string, a set, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now that's 7 drill bits. Mm-hmm. All right. When you buy a pack of drill bits, you'll generally get twice that amount, right? And it's just not necessary. It's honestly just not necessary. So instead of buying a big pack of drill bits that you're never going to use all of, my suggestion would be, or a suggestion would be, just to buy them individually. Because you can actually pick them individually, or the shops have got them. And they'll usually sell them in little packs of 3 or 4. Yes, sir.
In saying that, I have two things to say.
Yes, sir.
If you don't know what Adam's talking about, people, don't worry, neither do I.
So we're talking to the drill bits that go in your electric drill.
I know. But in buying single drill bits,
Yeah.
sometimes it's cheaper to buy a pack than to buy them singularly.
It can be, but, you put your money where you want. I've invested money.
I know where I want to put my money.
I've invested money in I got a nice little set. Of drill bits that I use, and they're really sharp and they're really nice. The large ones actually resharpen quite nicely as well. So I don't know. It's an option. And all I'm saying, people, is this is just an option. You can get them, and you can actually get them in fairly cheap. Yes, I'm also thinking from an ecological point of view. I don't like waste. I'm not big on it. I'm trying to cut back a little bit on waste a bit. Having said that, the caveat to that would be: are you spending more than on packaging? And you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. But realistically, what can you do? What could you do if you had a 2? If you had a 2, if you had an 8 and a 10, realistically, 2, an 8 and a 10, you could start with a 2, an 8 and a 10. If you didn't have a lot and you had to scrounge and scrummage, the 3 drill bits, that would be fine. You can use hand drills. Hand drills are fine. But I've got so... Yeah, I know. That's what I'm talking about. Let's look at all that waste. Obviously,
but that's no waste.
Yeah, but you don't use all of those.
Yeah.
You don't use
everything. I use everything.
You use everything.
There is no amount of tool that I don't use.
I am.
Look at that.
I'll put my...
Look at that.
Jesus Christ. All right. So what Darren's doing? Darren's walked over to his tool chest at the moment, and he's opening the drawers. Right. And there's more tools than I've ever seen in my life, and I will guarantee that you don't use all that shit.
Yeah, most of the time.
Jesus. All right. Start off with, look, and yes, you can go out and get it.
That's how I built my shed.
I like the idea of one of the things that I like is that I'm trying to, in my life, I'm trying to reduce clutter a little bit. So I'm trying to just get out those things that I specifically use and get rid of everything that I don't use. So for me, the drill bits are one thing. Anyway, look, yes, you can just go to your local hardware store and just get a cheap set of drill bits. They're inexpensive, but you will find that you'll probably only use those ones that I mentioned or their imperial equivalent. Other tools. Okay, so you got drill bits. The other thing would be obviously a couple of different types of saws. Now, if you're starting out, you may not want to invest in electrical equipment to start with. You may not have room for electrical equipment. So a couple of saws that I would suggest would be a coping saw.
Yeah. I've got one of them.
Yeah, coping saws. I've been using my coping saw a lot, especially since my my bandsaw has basically shit itself.
Did you look after it though?
No. It's been horribly neglected. In fact, the more that I'm building, the less I'm actually using it. So it's almost becoming superfluous in a way to what I actually need. So a coping saw is great. Coping saws are fantastic if you want to cut headstock recesses.
Yeah.
If you want to cut out the holes in a cigar box to accept the neck, they'll go around corners. You can do shapes. You can cut headstock angles. There's a whole range of things that coping saws are really, really handy for. They're better for the more delicate work. I wouldn't be cutting anything thicker than 1.5 centimeters really. I used one just recently to cut out the shape of a 6-string guitar headstock that I was working on. It worked fine. It needs sanding. So coping saw is the first one. We'll talk about sandpaper in a second. Coping saw is the first one. The second one is just a normal handsaw and miter box. So you can get those really inexpensively from your local hardware store, and they usually come in a set. You'll get a little miter box, which is really handy, and a miter saw. And a miter saw is kind of the squarish looking one. Miter saws are fantastic. They are really brilliant pieces of kit. You can use them for a whole range of different things. The biggest thing really I would think would be to cut box corners if you needed to. Cutting off on a nice straight angle. Obviously for the top and bottom of your guitar if you wanted to keep it nice and straight. They're very handy for cutting out your recesses as well. So if you wanted to do, go and check out Glenn Watt's video on YouTube of building your first guitar, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But you can use a miter box to actually cut the if you want to lower or thin out the length, thin out the thickness, for example, of your neck tenon that's inside the box. Go and see what Shane Spiel does, how he recesses his necks to improve acoustic volume. You can actually use your miter saw and box to actually cut those little recesses in the neck, and then use a chisel to basically hack out the timber you don't want. Which brings us on to, so that's a coping saw and a miter saw, and really that's kind of the two saws you really need. You know, you can do everything by hand. I'm looking at potentially doing everything by hand with the new shed that I'm working on, because I may not be able to get it electrified for a while. So I might be basically working outside, working purely with hand tools, which in a way I'm actually quite excited about. I'm finding myself moving more towards using hand tools more so than the big stuff that I've actually got. I'm actually really, really enjoying it. So after saws, files. You've got to have files. You have to have files.
So that'll probably take you, like using hand tools to make a guitar, probably take you 6 months to do one guitar.
No, man. No, it's funny. It's because with cigar boxes and cigar box guitars, because you're dealing with shorter amounts of cutting. You're not cutting out large guitar bodies or reducing thicknesses on large planks of timber. You're using smaller pieces of timber, thinner pieces of timber. You're using plywood. You're using even building our rustic styles of guitars that we build. You could do it the whole thing with hand tools. In fact, here we go. I've got this guitar here, my Black Pearl guitar. There you go. That's been built using a piece of Meranti for a fingerboard. This is a fretless instrument I'm holding up and showing Darren. It's reclaimed timber for the neck. I haven't used a table router. You can see it's slightly squared off just here. Everything about this guitar screams handmade. Like, it is literally a handmade instrument. And it's great, you know. So that was actually done mostly using hand tools, because my as I said, my bandsaws shit itself at the moment. So it's like everything was cut out using that, and it didn't take much longer. If you're building guitars on the scale of Mike Snowden, for example, you know, where you're building 10 instruments at once, you need an electric shop. You know, you need to be doing that. But if you're doing what you and I do, which is, you know, being creative and going down and just building something and going, wow, look what I made, you know, that's
me. Yeah, like for me, I wouldn't do anything by hand.
Yeah. Yes, I understand why. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, to do something should only take a couple of minutes. Like to do it by hand, it would just drive me nuts sitting there for hours cutting.
It's funny. See, it's funny. I do have a bad elbow. I've got tennis elbow in my right arm. So I find doing fretwork, that repetitive strain of moving back and forward, I can find that with sawing. I can find it on some days a little more difficult. I'm probably going to get myself an arm brace. I might end up with a brace or something, but it's getting better. I've been exercising and looking after my diet, and I'm finding that my elbow's actually been better. I've been doing a hell of a lot of physical work, like lifting large amounts of timber. I've had to take timber from the front of my property to the back of my property where the shed's going to be, lifting heavy bulks of timber. My elbow has generally been really good, so it's keeping strong. A lot of people, if you do get a shed, or you're like Alex Lechner, for example, who's got that great big shed that he has there, or Joe, for example, who's got his shed. Jesse's got this big area. Yes, having power tools, like Tim the Toolman Taylor. I don't think so, Tim. That's obviously, that's like, there's nothing like firing up a bandsaw to get the blood pumping and the concentration going, But I don't know. I'm slipping back into this kind of this real love of doing things by hand. Anyway, so that's cool.
Like I've seen videos.
But we're talking about. Sorry, Darren. Yeah.
I've seen videos of people. They get this big chunk of hardwood, and they go there with a little tiny saw, cutting.
Oh yeah, no. It's there. You got. But that's usually wrong tool for the wrong job.
Yeah.
Wrong tool, wrong job. If you look at Carmine Street Guitars, if you go and look at Carmine Street Guitars in New York City and you watch Cindy Huledge, who's this small woman, and she's working with these massive pieces of timber, these massive pieces, all these oak, this massive pine, not oak, these massive pine beams which have come out of buildings. And she and Rick Kelly would be nearly 80. He must be. He's just had his birthday. Yeah. And Rick Kelly's not necessarily a young man. And if you watch those two unlikely people working with these heavy timbers, they do it with ease. Well, ease. Yeah. And I'm doing ease with inverted, inverted speech marks or whatever. But they're using the right tools. Have a look at them. Go and watch the videos of how they're cutting this stuff. They're cutting it by hand, but they're using these massive saws, right, with these sharp teeth, and they're allowing the saw weight to cut through this timber. And this is old growth pine. This isn't soft white pine that you just get from your local hardware store. We're talking old growth pine, which has been maturing and it's been gassing out and it's been losing its moisture and it's been crystallizing and doing all of this stuff. And it's been holding up buildings in New York City, but they're using the right tool and they're using the right technique. When you watch her cutting that wood, when you watch Rick Kelly cutting that wood, and they're using that massive saw that they've got to cut those enormous chunks of timber, that's why they can do it. If they sat there with a normal handsaw, you'd do yourself in. You wouldn't. You just wouldn't do it. But when you're using the right tools, and they of course have a full working shop with they've got router tables and pin routers, and they've got all this old stuff there that definitely makes life interesting and would be heaps of fun to use, but. We're talking about just starting out. So all of that stuff's generally not necessarily files. You definitely need files. You need a rough file. You need a smooth file. And if you can get one, get a Japanese Shinto rasp. All right? Japanese Shinto rasp is a file that's made out of crisscrossing hacksaw blades. All right? And it is absolute. They are a godsend in your workshop. So if you want to round off necks, if you don't have access to a router table or a router, it is the best way to remove large pieces of timber. Get yourself a hand file, a hand planer. A simple number what number is it? Number 2? Stanley hand planer. You can get them anywhere. You can get them at your local hardware shop for next to nothing. I mean, they're not expensive. I use mine all the time. I put oversized fretboards on. Yeah, perfect. What number's that?
This is...
What do you got there?
Oh,
He's just having a look. It's the small. It's about 30 centimeters long or so. Just a simple hand plane. I've got one.
This is a jack plane.
Jack plane. That's it. Thank you. Yeah. All right. So it's a jack plane, and they are wonderful. I use mine all the time, and I usually use mine for. I generally, when I put a fretboard on a guitar neck, it'll be oversized. So then I just put it in my vise, and I just take off the excess material and take it down to the same length. I use it all the time, and they're great. I just
found the number.
What is it?
4.
4. It is a number 4. Okay, so it's a number 4 hand plane or jack plane, and you can get them. And they're not expensive. They're not expensive at all. They can be. They can be insanely expensive, but you don't have to spend a lot of money. Hammers. Grab yourself a hammer. Always good to have just a medium-sized hammer. Nothing too heavy. Something that'll drive a nail if you need it to. Obviously, you can get electric drills now. Like, I'm not kidding. I went to Big W 12 years ago, and I bought it was $40 for a set. 12 years ago, and I got a what's the bandsaw, the round saw? What are those saws? Those things with the big circle. Yeah, the saw. What are they? Like a table saw, and you got the saw that's in a table saw. What's that? I can't remember the name.
That's a circular saw. Circular
saw. Thank you. So I got a circular saw. Yeah.
It's called a power saw.
Power saw. Okay. So I got one of those. Which if you don't have a table saw and you want to cut fairly straight lengths, you can actually do it with that because of the saw blade itself is a straight line. You can actually cut up that straight line. It's possible to do that, and then use a hand plane if you wanted to, just to get it to some sort of to get it to that thickness that you wanted it to get to. I bought one of those, and I bought an electric drill. Both cable, obviously, and green and ugly. And you know what? I'm still using them to this day. I still use them. They were $20 each. I've never replaced the blade on the saw, ever. It's never needed it. It's brilliant. Like, it is. They are absolutely essential pieces of kit.
Just hearing you say that, you've never changed. I can hear my power saw sitting on the bench shaking.
But it's true.
Seriously, you have to learn how to look after your tools.
I've never ever replaced that blade.
It's just sad.
And it just and it's noisy and it's wonderful and it's I got no idea. I got no idea how to change it. It just goes and goes and goes and goes. And it was $20.
You have to come to my shed to get a rundown on how to use a shed.
Why don't we do a video on that maybe one day on updating tools and things? We might be able to do that. All right. So saws, jigsaw. You can get a jigsaw, obviously. Coping saws and jigsaws are almost the same thing. Just the coping saw, obviously.
I have several.
Yeah. I've got one, and again, this is an old one that I got from. I actually bought it from the reject shop. I bought it from like one of those $2 stores, right? I think it cost me like $15. And all I do is just change the blades every now and again. And mate, it goes. When I need one, it just goes. And in fact, I'm going to be honest with you. There's a jig that you can actually use to turn your jigsaw into a bandsaw, because I'm thinking I'm not going to replace my bandsaw. I can't be bothered replacing it because I just don't use it very much. So, and you actually mount it upside down on a board, and you actually cut. Like with the blade going up like that, you can actually cut.
Yeah, I've tried that several times.
I might give it a go.
I've got one of those little workbenches.
Yes.
The Black & Decker.
Yeah.
And it has the 2 windy bits on the outside. Yeah.
Oh, and you just wedge it in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Sit it flat. and squash it together.
There you go. Off you go. Gee, well, there's this, and this is the thing, make it work. Just make it work for you. So we got saws, we've got drill bits, we've got obviously hand drills. Whether or not you get a cheap hand drill, you can get these drills cheap as chips anywhere. Even for Christ's sake, IKEA sell them. IKEA sell little toolkits, and you can build a guitar. But do you know what I mean? But you could use one of those toolkits to build a simple cigar box guitar. You could.
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that it doesn't have files and stuff. Sandpaper, because you don't want splinters. Sandpaper. I use 250 grit. And I use 120 grit, and that's the only sandpaper I use. I don't use anything over 250. I don't need it. You don't need it. In fact,
I use 80 grit.
Yeah, 80 grit's great just to hack away large amounts of what you don't want. The other thing you can get if you wanted to, and you can get that. You don't have to get these brand new. They are around. If you have a little look and you go to like bric-a-brac stores, or you go to like boot sales or to markets, go and have a look at those guys selling old tools. You'd be surprised. A spoke shave.
Yeah.
A spoke shave is really handy for hacking out large amounts of timber off your neck to round out a neck if you wanted to. So I've got a spoke shave. I need to all my blades all need sharpening. I'm gonna have a weekend, like a mental weekend, just sharpening chisels and blades and things like that.
Really?
I want to. I did it 8 years ago, and it was a great weekend.
It was like a festival weekend.
It was fabulous. That's the thing. It's like a lot of these tools are just quite like quite common sense tools. Things that cut, things that remove excess material, things that are going to put holes in stuff for machine heads. And rivets. Oh, get yourself rivets. Get yourself a whole heap of rivets and a pair of heavy pliers. I've got videos on my website. You don't have to buy rivets at all. The bushings to hold strings in the back. You don't have to buy those. You can if you want to. I just buy rivets. I've never bought bushings for cigar box guitars. Even on the electric guitars that I build, I still use rivets. Like they're as cheap as chips. You buy the 4mm rivets with the 4mm 4x5. I think they're 5mm deep, 5mm long, and 4mm wide. And I just use a 4mm drill, and all you do is you remove use a pair of pliers, you smack it on the table, you remove the pin, chuck the pin, or use the pin for frets if you wanted to do an old style cigar box guitar. If you wanted to, whatever you want to use them for, chuck them, whatever. I went through this insane stage of actually cutting them into small pieces and using them as neck dots. That was insane. That was just, and then I put it on my sanding station. The sparks were going everywhere. So I sanded it out. Yeah, don't do that.
Well, my first guitar, I got the flathead nails.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought it'd be pretty cool to cut the ends off, put them on the fretboard. Yeah, never again.
No.
It was just a shit-ass thing to do.
It's worth a try. It's always worth a try. Okay, so screws. White wall screws are really helpful. They are handy little things. Like the white, they're the flat. They've got the flat top, which is probably about the size of a 1 cent coin, or a nickel, if you call it. I don't know. Is that a nickel in America? Like the little small coins. They're great, and I love those because they're really good at holding lids down. So if you put the four corners in your cigar box and you want to hold the lid down, those are fantastic, and they actually look pretty cool. They look a bit industrial. The longer ones are really good for holding. You can use them as strap buttons. I actually use them sometimes as strap buttons if you get the ones that are wide enough. They actually work okay, especially if you're using string. If you're going to use string as a guitar strap, for example, they actually work quite well. They're quite good. A range of different length screws, self-tapping screws and wood screws, I usually use 3 centimetre long, I think number 6. And that's to hold all the big stuff together. Yeah. So, just experiment with different screws. Now, a lot of this is what we're talking about. A lot of this is very experimental. Are there any other tools that I'm thinking of? So we've gone through drills, drill bits, files, sandpaper, hammer. Hammers are great to have. Have a couple of sized hammers if you want to. A small hammer and a medium-sized hammer. If you're doing frets, you don't necessarily have to have a proper fretting hammer. It's not really necessary. It's you can use the rubber mallet type, which are good because they don't dent. They don't dent the frets. My suggestion is though, when you start out, don't do a fretted guitar when you start out. Take it step by step. Do one of these. I'm holding up a little fretless. Start off with a nice box, a nice size box. So let's move on from that to the type of boxes that we can use. If you're going to use a cigar box, my suggestion would be something that's a little bit deep. Get something that's got a nice depth to it. Nothing too thin. Only if you want slightly louder acoustic resonance. So I've got a punch box here. These are the Royal Coronations, punch 25 Royal Coronations. It's probably about 5 centimetres. Hang on, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 or so centimetres thick. They're about 18 centimetres long, probably about 15 centimetres wide. As a simple box through type of style, they're great. They're really, really cool. They're moderately loud. This is a slide one that I've got here. I'm really into building slide guitars at the moment. I'm loving slide. I was loving it again. And it's a good size. It's a good size of box to actually use. They are great. A bigger box can be quite handy. Use one where if you can, the thing that's good about the Romeo Juliet boxes and the punch boxes is that the lid simply sits on top of the box. When it closes, there's no overlap. There's no extra thickness to cut through. Some lids have their own thickness and have their own rim. They can be a little harder to work with. Maybe try not to use cigar boxes that have a curved top. Only because it adds to the complication of the build. To start out, and the thing is, the Punch and Romeo Julieta boxes, they're usually and the Party Gas boxes as well. Those yellow Party Gas boxes are probably the most prevalent. They're probably that you'll see more of those probably than anything else. And I've got to be honest with you, they actually sound really, really good. They're actually made using plywood. A lot of your very fancy looking cigar boxes are actually made using MDF. And I'm going to say this, I don't think MDF sounds as good as ply. I think MDF is they're a bit thuddier. Solid timber boxes sound great, especially if they're made of cedar. They are punchy and lively. Every time I won't not use MDF boxes, but I usually use MDF boxes for electrified instruments, as in where I use electric guitar pickups. Because I just if you want an acoustic instrument, especially if you're using a piezo, or you want to play it, or you figure, okay, even if I put a pickup in it, I'm probably going to play it mostly just sitting in the lounge room, just sitting quietly. My partner's not necessarily going to want me wailing through an amplifier 24/7.
Probably not.
That's the thing. So and most of the time, let's be honest, when we pick up a guitar, I don't know about you, but when I pick up a cigar box guitar, I sit there and basically just I play acoustically, that type of thing.
Well, yeah, pretty much. I very rarely put it into an amplifier.
Yeah.
Unless I have to.
Yeah. That's it. Playing live is a different story, but we're talking about starting out. So those boxes would be the boxes that I would suggest. And especially if you're in America, they're very easy to get. Even in Australia, yes, they can be more expensive if you jump on eBay and stuff like that. But go on Marketplace, go on Gumtree if you're in Australia, and and on eBay. Like you can get cigar boxes. It took me a few months, but I've put together actually a really, really good stash of cigar boxes. We were given some. Darren and I were actually given some very kindly by Gavin Favell from Gavtar Guitars. Who I don't know if Gavin's going in a different direction or if he was just feeling very very generous. Like you and I sat back and just kind of our jaws hit the floor. But that was very kind, as well as some bits and pieces. Reach out to your community. Reach out. If you're in the group and you, for example, obviously you're probably in the group. If you're not in the group, go and sign up to the Cigar Box Guitar Builder. It is a private group, but we'll give you a thumbs up. Just remember to answer all of the questions so we can give you a big thumbs up. We've had a nice little influx of people coming through and real people actually filling out the proper stuff, which was great. Talk to the people online. Alex does that a lot. Braden, 66 Salvage, also does the same thing. American Heritage Guitars. These guys are all talking to each other and sharing equipment and sharing, someone needs a particular thing. It's like, these guys are real rustic builders. These guys are not necessarily people who will go to their local luthier store and look for the latest fandangled equipment. They're building totally recycled instruments using whatever they can get their hands on, and that's beautiful. Talk to people in the group. If you're new to the group, introduce yourself and say, hi, I'm from this region, I'm from Bathurst, or I'm from Denver, I'm from Budapest, I'm from, or wherever, it doesn't matter. Hi, I'm in the group, I'm here, and I want to build and I want to connect with some people. So talk locally with people, and you'll make friends. You'll make friends in this group. It's a really, really nice place. That's the easiest box. Wood, obviously, look, oak and pine are really, really, really easy to get your hands on. I have nothing against using white pine for a cigar box guitar neck, as long as you're not hacking it out. I'm going to be honest with you. I've built heaps of guitars using white pine. You've got to keep it thick. You have to keep it thick. I would put on, don't do any recesses in it. But I've had guitars come back after 10 years, and that I've seen, and they're in the same perfect condition that they were when I built them 10 years ago. Don't put like the heaviest string, because you're going to get a bit of neck pull that's going to pull the neck up a little bit. But even if it does, if it's a fretless instrument, it doesn't really matter. But use a sensible gauge of string, and what sensible is, because if you sit there and you strum the strings will move really, really comfortably and easily. Like if you're looking there, Darren, I've got a nice amount of give. These are probably on the tighter side for this instrument. But that's, use a bit of common sense when it comes to what you're doing with the timber that you're using. Oak also is brilliant, whether it's red oak or white oak. It's also very easy to get from your local hardware store. And the other thing is, if you're in America, everyone over there uses poplar, and poplar is a great material. I've managed to grab myself a stash of timber. I've got myself a whole heap of cedar. Now, cedar is a relatively soft timber, but it makes beautiful necks, really resonant necks. But again, I will use a fretboard on that just to give it a little bit of extra strength. And I usually, with something like cedar, I don't cut any recesses in it. I'll have it sitting directly under the board. You know, and even if anything, I'll generally put a little piece of timber underneath inside the box, just to lock it in, just to give it that little bit of extra support. Use pine. If you want to start off and you're not sure about the tools you've got, or you've got old tools which are maybe a little bit rusty, use pine. It's an easier timber. It's an easier kind of timber to cut. You know, it's make the first guitar, and then you could decide upon going into a harder timber later, as in harder to cut, harder to sand, that type of thing. Dust masks. Try and use dust masks if you can. If you're using anything like blackwood or stuff like that, timber dust can be carcinogenic. So it can also absolutely rip your lungs to shreds. Don't end up with chest infections because you're not looking after yourself. Make sure you're working in a airy zone. Like, make sure you've got a lot of air around you. Don't sit there working in wood dust. It's very dangerous. If you're cutting stuff, I know, Darren, you cut a lot of your stuff outside your shed. You don't cut a lot of your stuff inside.
Before I started moving other stuff into my shed, I did cut in here a lot.
Yeah. And you found it, especially with the four walls around you, though, that the dust has got nowhere to go. So you need...
you know, like, I've got 3.6 between the walls.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of room.
Yeah, it is, but it's also it's amazing how many dust particles get into the air, though.
And generally the door's open.
Yeah, you need that cross ventilation just to kind of clear it out. So that would be the main thing. Just use a bit of common sense when you do it. Look after yourself. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you are healthy. Use eye protection if you're doing anything with power tools. I know, because Darren, you use a lot of power tools. You know, just be careful. Don't have your face over the top of stuff. You know, keep your hands away from the parts that are spinning quickly. You know, that type of stuff. If you have any questions, please ask the group. You know, pop some comments in down here. Pop some comments in on when we post this episode. You know, it'll be, if you have any questions, pop some questions in underneath the episode. If there's anything that you would like us to talk about, or if you think you've got a story that is worthwhile talking about, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I'm just in discussions at the moment with Nick Lanciano from, if I've said his name properly, I don't have his name in front of me, Nick, so I apologise, from CBGs. So we might be having a chat with Nick very shortly about what's going on over there at CBGs. If you're not affiliated, obviously, with CBGs and you still have a story to tell, please tell us. Like, we're here for you. This is an open group. Although we are sponsored by Ben and the team, wonderful team over at CBGs, we are an open group, and you know, it's not about corporate sponsorship or anything like that. It's about sharing your stories and share. And if you're making things, if you are actually making pickups, and you want to talk about what you do, get in contact with us. We would love to talk to you. I think that's about it, Daz, for today. Anything else you wanted to add?
Buy decent tools.
Buy decent tools. Yes, if you can afford it, get it. If you can't, just get something and just get started. My suggestion is just get started. Don't spend massive amounts of time collecting, because you know what I mean, especially if you're a bit like me and ADHD.
Yeah. Well, even if you can't buy good tools, don't settle for the cheapest, because they're generally made out of a metal that's not really good. Try and get somewhere in the middle of the range.
Yeah, that's quite good. If you are on a very, very, very tight budget, because let's face it, with the world the way it is at the moment, things are very, very tight. If things are tight for you, my suggestion would be go to boot sales. Go to second-hand stores. You would be surprised at the quality of material that you can actually get. you can actually buy. I'm looking at getting those the saw files to resharpen teeth. I've got some beautiful old saws, like fret saws and things like that. Oh, that's right. When you start out, do fretless. Start off with a couple of fretless guitars until you get, especially if you've never built guitars before, or if you don't play guitar.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to be honest with you, because a lot of our builders do not actually play guitar. Okay, and a lot of our builders build and don't play their own instruments. So two things I'm going to ask you to do. One, start with a fretless instrument if you've never played before. Okay, because you will learn scale length. Understand there are some rules. The big thing about cigar box guitars is everyone jumps up and down and says no rules. There are some fret distances from the nut. That's got to be pretty accurate to make sure you're playing intonating well. So start with a fretless instrument. That is my suggestion. Even to the point where you could start with an instrument of any length, any scale length that you want, that's a comfortable. If you look at the box and you look at the neck and you think, I think that neck's a nice size for that box. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put some tuners up there. Start with a diddley bow. If you want to start with a diddley bow, start with a diddley bow. It's a one-string instrument. I'm going to mount the string down on the bottom down here using a rivet or a hole through the wood, whatever. I'm going to use a bolt on the box. I'm going to put another bolt up here, and I'm going to put a tuner there. Right, and that's my guitar done. I'm going to put a hole in the body so that the sound comes out, and I'm going to put the neck inside, and I'm going to screw and glue the whole thing together. There's my first cigar box guitar. I could literally build that in half an hour myself.
Really?
I could literally build that in half an hour myself. It wouldn't take me any longer than half an hour to build that simple instrument, and you would have your very first instrument that you could play with, and then play it. Whatever you build, play it. Okay? Don't just go, okay, I'm going to build another one. Play that instrument. Learn how it sounds. Learn to play it with your eyes closed. Don't put dots on it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, fine, where's the octave? Okay, where's the third? Where's the fifth? You know, where's the 7th fret? Where's the 10th fret? Where's the octave? Right, that's your blues scale. That's it. That's your blues scale. You've got all of the notes there for the blues scale. You've got your open, 3, 5, 7, 10, octave. Perfect. And then start playing the damn thing. And learn it. Listen to it. Listen to the way it reacts in your hands. Say to yourself, what do I like about this? What don't I like about this? Okay, the things I don't like, I'm going to fix that. The things I do like, I'm going to keep that. And before you know it, you're not copying other builders. You're doing your own thing. Borrow from other builders. Please borrow from other builders, like as in ideas and things like that. But make them your own. Do your own thing. All right. Imitation is the most sincerest form of flattery. Don't copy. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. That's the big thing. Like you want to do your own thing. Do your own thing. You know, it's cigar box guitars all generally look pretty much the same, but it's interesting where you can go, I know any guitar that you build, I could pick one of your guitars out of a group of instruments any day because you've got your own style. I think I could pick one of my guitars out of a lineup. You know what I mean? Del Puckett. I could definitely pick a Del Puckett guitar out of a lineup any day. Mike Snowden has a very specific style of build. That's all his own.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. So make it your own. Own it. All right. I think we're done. Hang on. Pen drop.
Pen drop. Just the thing with borrowing. Don't borrow money.
No.
You just get into debt.
Yeah. and Shane Spiel says, this is the poor man's guitar.
Yeah.
You can build a cigar box guitar. You know what? Bugger it. When I get some time, I'm actually gonna build I'm going to build a one-string diddley bow, and I'm going to try and beat half an hour. I'm going to build a diddley bow in less than half an hour just using hand tools. How's that for a challenge?
Yeah, I don't think you're as quick as Jesse on building.
Right, I'm going to go. No Oompa Loompas were harmed in the making of this instrument. All right, love yous all. What do we say at the end of the show?
Don't bite your friends.
There you go. All right, good ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you next time on the Cigar Box Guitar Builder.
Thank you.
Bye.